It was a grand wedding in the heart of New York City. The kind of wedding where every detail screamed perfection, from the shimmering crystal chandeliers to the imported white orchids delicately lining the aisles. The bride was the daughter of a fashion mogul. The groom, the son of a real estate tycoon. The venue was buzzing with influencers, celebrities, and the elite. Everyone was dressed in the finest designer outfits, sipping champagne, laughing, networking, and living their best lives. But there was one person among them who didn't quite fit. In a corner near the edge of the ballroom sat a girl in a sleek black wheelchair. Her dark hair was neatly tied in a bun, and she wore a soft lavender dress with lace sleeves. She looked stunning, but her eyes told a different story. Sad, hollow, and distant. People glanced at her, smiled politely, and then looked away. No one approached. No one sat beside her. She was like a ghost in a sea of flashing lights and flowing dresses. Her name was Elena. She was 16, and she was the only daughter of Mr. James Caldwell, the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country. A billionaire. A genius. A man whose name opened every door. And yet, at his niece's wedding, Elena sat alone. Invisible. 3 years ago, a tragic car accident had changed Elena's life forever. One moment she was a vibrant, energetic teenager, full of dreams, dancing in her room, talking about college, and traveling the world. The next, she was paralyzed from the waist down. The driver was drunk. The doctors tried everything. But the damage was irreversible. Since that day, Elena had grown quiet. Withdrawn. She stopped going to school, refused therapy, and barely spoke. Her mother, already distant, grew colder. Her father, though wealthy beyond imagination, was always busy. Always in meetings. Always trying to fix everything with money. And here she was now, forced to attend a wedding where no one cared. No one truly saw her. But someone did. Across the hall, among the waiters rushing to serve hors d'oeuvres and refill drinks, was a young man named Daniel. He wasn't a guest. He didn't come from money. He was a part-time server, working 3 jobs to support his sick mother. Tall, kind-eyed, and humble, Daniel had learned to stay out of sight at these events. To smile, be polite, and move on. But when he saw Elena, something pulled him in. It wasn't pity. It wasn't obligation. It was recognition. He knew what it felt like to be ignored. To be seen, but not really seen. During a short break in serving, Daniel grabbed 2 glasses of juice and quietly walked over to her. "Mind if I sit here for a moment?" he asked gently. Elena looked up, surprised. No one had spoken to her the entire evening. She hesitated, then nodded. Daniel handed her a glass. "It's non-alcoholic. I figured we could both use a break from the chaos." A faint smile tugged at Elena's lips. She took the glass with both hands. "Thank you." They sat there in silence for a while, just watching the crowd. Eventually, Daniel spoke again. "You know, when I was younger, I used to think weddings were magical. Now I just think they're loud." That made Elena chuckle softly. "You're not wrong." That laugh, it was the first in weeks. Daniel leaned back and looked at her. "So, what's your story?" Elena looked away. "Trust me, it's not very exciting." "I don't mind," he said. "Sometimes the unexciting stories are the ones worth hearing." She paused for a moment. Then, slowly, she began to speak. She told him about the accident. About how everything changed. How the people who once called themselves friends vanished. How her world became smaller with each passing day. Daniel didn't interrupt. He didn't give advice. He just listened. Truly listened. At one point, Elena looked at him and said, "You're the first person who's looked me in the eyes today." Daniel's heart broke a little. That says more about them than you. From that point on, they talked like old friends. They laughed. Joked. Even made fun of some of the awkward wedding speeches. The clock ticked on, unnoticed. And then came the dance. The bride and groom opened the floor. Music filled the hall. Couples began spinning around. Flashy dresses twirled. Shoes clicked against the polished floor. Elena watched quietly. Her hands clenched the wheels of her chair. She loved dancing. Used to be great at it. Her feet had memorized every beat of music once. Daniel noticed. He stood up and extended a hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked, with a half-smile. Elena blinked, confused. "I can't." "Then we'll dance sitting," he replied. She hesitated. But something about the sincerity in his eyes made her nod. With that, Daniel took her hands and began moving gently with the rhythm. People started to notice. Whispers started. Phones were lifted to record. Some giggled. Some rolled their eyes. But others watched in silence. The music swelled, and Daniel spun her wheelchair in time. Elena started laughing, really laughing, for the first time in years. Her eyes sparkled. Her cheeks flushed with joy. The crowd slowly grew quiet. By the end of the song, everyone was watching. Everyone who had ignored her now couldn't look away. When the music ended, the entire hall erupted in applause. And Elena, glowing with emotion, looked at Daniel and whispered, "Thank you." But the story doesn't end there. After the wedding, the video of their dance went viral. Someone had uploaded it with the caption, "She was ignored all night until this happened." Millions watched. And in the sea of comments, one stood out. "I used to think I'd never dance again. This changed my mind." Elena's life began to shift. Messages poured in. Letters from other wheelchair users. From girls like her. From people who felt invisible. She began to speak publicly. Share her story. She started a YouTube channel. And eventually, she launched a foundation for young people with physical disabilities. As for Daniel, he was offered a full scholarship by a philanthropist who saw the video. Turns out, he'd been dreaming of studying physical therapy to help others regain movement, something his own mother was struggling with. The two remained close. And while the world speculated about their relationship, they didn't care. What mattered was the connection they shared. The moment they created. The impact it left behind. One simple act of kindness. One small choice. To notice someone. To see them. That's all it took to change everything. Elena later said in an interview, "That night, I was reminded that I am more than my chair. That even in a room full of strangers, one person can make you feel whole again." And maybe that's the real magic of this story. Not the viral fame. Not the applause. But the reminder that every human being, no matter their circumstances, deserves to be seen. Heard. Valued. In a world full of noise, sometimes the quietest act can echo the loudest. So the next time you see someone sitting alone, don't just look. See them. Talk to them. Listen. Because you never know, you might just change their life. Or they might change yours. Thank you for watching this emotional and heartwarming story. If this touched your heart,